Hey, this is Shot 13, and for once my video is running on time. Let's see here. Anything that's changed? Well, I forget if I mentioned this stuff in my other video, but my voice is at that awkward stage. Basically, I pretty much sound between the ages of like 13 and 15, boy, when our voices are cracking, and it's getting deeper, but it's still that weird sounding voice. So right now I'm like, my voice sounds weird. My hands did get bigger. I think they got meatier because I used to wear a small glove at my work, and now I can't even get the glove on. I have to go up to a medium, and mediums used to be too big for me. So yeah, so my hands have gotten bigger. My I think my biceps are done growing because they haven't gotten bigger in a while. So yeah, they've gotten pretty big. And again, I don't work out regularly. I do work, and I do have a lot of, and that feels like a workout itself, but I don't have a schedule. Trying to think what else. I feel like I'm just I'm emotional roller coaster. Like I can be really happy and stuff, and then quickly change to me being pissed or angry or depressed. Or I can just quickly go and be happy and not have a care in the world. I have a lot more energy. Like I want to run around, I want to go out and do stuff, which kind of sucks because I'm kind of trapped inside, doing work on my thesis. I'm doing a commission at the moment, and I'm working, so it kind of sucks. And I'm yelling at my friend. I might for my upcoming day off. Like we gotta go out and do something, and it has to be outside. And it has to be messy because I really just want. Because when you're working in some place where you're supposed to look pristine and stuff, but it's a messy job. It's annoying. Because you have to have a clean uniform and stuff and look central. I'm the sandwich person and I work on grill and I'm on the fryers. Do you really think my uniform's gonna stay clean? It's why is your uniform so messy? It's because I do my job. Shut up. Yeah, anyone who has a clean job and is not on front counter, I'm just they're obviously not doing their job the way they're supposed to be doing. Though I did start wearing an apron because I got tired of cleaning my uniform every night. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. This change. My body weight's gone up, so that's definitely an improvement. Alright, figure for today's theme. I'm gonna do terms. And I'm gonna try and get the most simple terms I can give and just describe them. Because literally some of these terms are very hard to understand. And I've come to realize unless you see it and stuff and experience it, you're never really going to fully understand it. Because there are several terms in here, they pretty much describe the exact same thing. But there's one or two kind of differences to them, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna describe that to you guys. And the difference is usually a mental state, I think. So yeah, so several terms are gonna sound similar, but unless you're experiencing it, you won't probably really understand the difference. Okay, I guess the two most important terms people always think mean the exact same thing is sex and gender. Sex and gender are two totally different terms in the medical and scientific way. Socially, people always see it as the exact same term, but it is not. Sex describes your biological sex, as in what your chromosomes are. That's all that it describes. Gender describes what people think culturally. What is culturally a boy, what is culturally a girl. Which is actually really true. I wasn't thinking of this, but when I went to Korea, what culturally was a boy and girl were two totally different definitions. And I'll tell you right now, I pretty much barely saw any butch lesbians. I saw one butch girl, and she was pretty hot. So yeah, gender is really also gender can be used to describe what a person's mental state is. So you can actually use that when you if it says gender on your application, you can put down I feel like this gender, and they say, well, you lie. It's going, no, gender is a person's mental state, because yeah, it's one of those confusing definitions where it has two definitions. Okay, next one is the actual transgender part. Transgender is an umbrella term and describes several different arts, and I'm going to go through those. And I will say, like, a lot of these terms are damn ass confusing. Okay, so I guess the first one I'm going to start off with is actually transsexual. Yeah, transsexual is the most common form of transgender people know of, next to drag queens. And transsexual is a person who feels like they're born in the wrong body, and that they don't match their mental state. Their body doesn't match their mental state. Um. So yeah, and transsexual is usually mostly associated with gender identity disorder. Um, you can actually be transsexual and not have gender identity disorder. Like, gender identity disorder is more of a distress state, and you can actually be pretty fine, be transsexual and like not be in distress and stuff, and not have gender identity disorder. It's confusing, yes, but like when I was doing the research and stuff, like it did make sense in my head when I was learning this. Like, oh, you can be transsexual and still not have it. So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna talk about gender identity disorder. Maybe I will at the end of this video. Let's see how much time I have. If not, then I'll talk about it in another video. People that are mostly associated with transsexual is actually MTF and MTM. Um, FTM, female to male. FTF, female to female. Basically, what someone is transitioning into. Basically very common. So yeah, that's basically what that means. Like, someone's like what they were to what they're becoming, or what they are and what they want to become. Very easy. Okay. Next is crossdresser. Again, a pretty easy term. Um, someone who's like basically they're fine with their biological sex. They just enjoy dressing as the opposite gender because like they just like the opposite gender clothes. Like, they could do it full time or part time. Usually, crossdressers are usually part time. I believe there are some people who do it full time, and like they just enjoy the opposite gender clothes. Like, they don't want to be the opposite gender. They just enjoy dressing as the opposite gender. Okay. Um, this one's actually kind of confusing because this is a new term I just ran into. It's called transgenderless. Let me grab a book real fast. Like, I actually recently like ran into this term, and apparently it's also associated with me with androgynous. Yeah, basically they live the role full or part time as the opposite gender. Usually it doesn't carry on to their workspace. Like, they don't really tell people about their work about it. Um, like, they are like trans. I think this is okay. This is definitely the big difference between crossdresser and transgenderless. Um, they are interested in hormones and some cosmetic surgery, but they're not interested in genitalia reassignment surgery. Like, that's the big difference. Like, they'll live as part as the opposite gender and stuff. Like, part full time, but not. But they don't want. They'll want some hormones and surgery, but they don't want the actual reassignment surgery. Okay, best way to describe it. Like, that's usually the big difference in a lot of these terms. Like, some want just the hormones, some just want part of the surgery, some want none of it, some want all of it. Next one is drag queen kings. Drag queen kings, like, I know like drag queens will. One thing, this is the part that always confused me because like on RuPaul, like, you see all these guys like they look like they have breasts and stuff. And I'm just like, but then you see them behind the scenes and some of them do have breasts, some of them don't. So it's like, so some of these guys drags probably do go for surgeries and stuff to make themselves look more feminine, masculine, and like they enjoy it. But they're not interested in genitalia reassignment surgery. And again, like this, some people live part time or full time as this thing. And drag queens and like are usually the most common like known one that people know as a form of cross dressing. And they probably to RuPaul drag queen like competitions. That's probably like the number one. That's probably the most well known one is Sidey now. All right, so yeah, and like they're used and drag usually means like they take it to the extreme. Like it's not like cross dressing where like they kind of like dress like everybody else. Drag queen like drag people usually take it to the extreme and go fully there, fully feminine, fully masculine, and they're usually like and it's like usually gaudy to the point. God, usually their outfits are like gaudy to the point that it's stylistic. As a fashion sense, because drag has also become like kind of a fashion sense too recently. Genderqueer. Genderqueer. It's actually this is actually also a hard term to understand. Like it took me to read this book to understand what genderqueer really meant, even though I've done research. It's called Neither Here Nor There, and My Journey Beyond Gender, and it's by Krieger. Actually, really good book. I've actually suggested to anyone who is trying to figure out their identity disorder. Well, identity, like trying to figure out their identity and stuff and what they are. I definitely recommend this book because like it's a really good book. Because like in the end, she just admits that she's transsexual or anything. Like she's trying to figure out, but she's getting herself on ground that she's comfortable on. So it's like it was nice. Yeah, like genderqueers, and androgyny and bigenders can be all associated on the same line almost, because like they're blurring what the definition of gender is. Like they're in between the two states, but they don't fully want to be the opposite gender. Like they either like they feel like both genders or they feel like neither genders or they just don't like something about their so-called gender. Like genderqueer is the best way I can describe this is that a girl doesn't like the fact she has breasts and gets them removed. And like that could be the only thing that she has a problem with. So she just basically removes the thing that we identify as being a woman. So like that's my best way to describe genderqueer. I feel like it's genderqueer is like definitely something you have to experience or like get an insider to actually understand because like I really can't describe it. Like this book actually helped me understand it a lot more, so I definitely suggest it because like it is a hard term to describe. Next term is actually intersex, and people always associate intersex as being part of transgender. Intersex is not a part of transgender. Intersex is actually its own umbrella term in general. And like intersex, it's actually hermaphrodite, but hermaphrodite is kind of like becoming a taboo term for medical and science terms because like now intersex has all its own terms now to describe people who are like medically between the two genders. So like this is like a medical umbrella for all those like chromosomes gone wrong or genitalia problems. So yeah, and I actually have met someone who is like a part of this intersex thing. I'll tell you right now, if he wanted to be a girl, man, he would have been a hot girl. Uh, let's see here. What else? Oh, androgyny. Androgyny is also associated with being part of the transgender umbrella. It is not. It is a part of the intersex term like umbrella. Um, I don't kind of understand why, because I think androgyny compared to the others is more of a like physical thing. Like you're physically between the two genders naturally. Like you haven't really like formed like because there are people I have met who have very androgyny like bodies, and it's like they're in between the two states. So it's like, but androgyny is often like as a term like describes someone's mental state. Like they don't like they feel like both genders or neither gender. So yeah, it's one of those like intersex is like more physical. Transgender is more like mental and choice wise. That's the best way I can describe this. The most confusing oldest term is actually transvestite. Transvestite is the oldest term, and it was originally used to describe everything that I just pointed out. Like, that was the term used to describe everything. Anyone who did not fit the gender norm, like intersex and hermaphrodite, not intersex, hermaphrodite and transvestite are the two oldest terms in this entire list, and they have existed for a good couple hundred years to describe anyone who did not fit the gender norm. Transvestite was for people who mentally and dress wise didn't fit the norm, and hermaphrodite was for people who were like physically couldn't fit the gender norm. Okay, so one thing is transvestite, I feel like, has multiple definitions right now, because like some people have taken, like certain groups of people have tried to take transvestite and make it their own definition. And in my one medical book, like it put transvestite and cross-dresser together. And in other places I've researched, transvestite has been used to describe people who have already gone through genitalia assignment surgery. So I cannot give you a definition on transvestite, because right now society can't seem to make up its mind of what transvestite should be, because multiple people have come up with their own definition and have posted on the internet, and is literally confusing the living hell out of people. And that's all the terms I have on my book. Well, I have written down. I don't. If I did miss any, please let me know, because these are a lot of terms that I'm trying to explain. And if someone like really didn't understand what the hell I was talking about certain terms, send me an email and I'll describe it as best I can. Maybe even send a link or two to you. But yeah, these are terms for transgender. And the number one reason I'm doing this is because like I've seen so many fights break out on like DeviantArt and stuff over terms, and it was ridiculous. Like, for some reason, a lot of people, especially beginners, associate transsexual as being like after someone gets operation, and transgender as being before someone gets operation. And I I kind of understand where they're getting it from, because like when I first started looking up the terms, like that's what I thought too. Like, I actually did find websites that did describe that, and they're completely wrong. So like right now, like the internet is a brilliant place right now, because like you can find a lot of information faster and easier than you could before. But at the same time, like there are people who are like making up their own websites and stuff, and like they're not putting up the correct definitions. So like do be careful and like research multiple places. Don't just stick to one place, because they could be wrong. And I have found a lot of fake websites. Like I have found fake witch websites. I actually found a fake website. Well, not it wasn't fake, but this person knew nothing about Japanese history, about World War One. Was it World War One? No, it was World War Two. And actually, well, the two areas. Well, the area that they were claiming that never happened was basically between World War One and Two. So yeah, and it was ridiculous because like they're claiming all this fake, all this paperwork, all this stuff. I'm just like, and I'm kind of just looking at this website like the Japanese have admitted that they've done this to people. You, it was like some person who was like anime manga freak, and to them Japan could never do anything wrong, and I was just like. Though, of course, they had no contact information on their damn website, so I couldn't actually yell at them for misleading people. And people will take these sites seriously, so again, please, when you're looking stuff up, look at multiple places. And I am sorry I did not have enough time to describe gender identity disorder. I'll save that for another video when I talk about the DSM, because the DSM-5 is going to be coming out soon, so I'll do a video on that. I don't know if that'll be next week's video or the following week's video, but alright, so that's pretty much it. I'll catch you all later, and also please send questions if you have any.